Welcome to another Demarcation Media Blokees review. Today we have Galaxy version 06. This is called Parallel Universe. This is the first Galaxy version wave of 2025, and I am very excited to get a closer look at this. Before we jump in though, big thank you to Blokees for sending this along. They did send this along for free for review. However, all thoughts expressed in this video are my own because you cannot buy good reviews on this channel. The box design just gets better and better every time. I love the purple color scheme here. I love this, like, I don't know, it's very almost cyberpunkish detail work. We get to see all the figures in the lineup here. Epic graphic design for this part, like thumbs up on that. Around the side, it's not just a blank side anymore. It's got like this ruined city, which is very, very interesting. Same around the other side. And then the front, of course, we just saw, looks very nice. Lots of explosions and effects going on. We get to see IDW Optimus and IDW Megatron right off the bat. We get to see some of our other figures. There's a lot of very interesting things going on in this wave. So let's go ahead and get this thing turned into display case mode. There it is in display case form, and wow, that looks really nice. I hope to one day see a full display case like this in a store near me. This is just really, really cool. The boxes, the little blind boxes themselves, very shiny. The graphic design on it is just so cool. We get the Autobot symbol in the middle. We get to see Optimus and Megatron. A bunch of stuff nobody reads. And then all the figures on the side. So this will have been built live. If you want to watch that replay, I'll pop the card up in the corner. And we will come back as soon as these figures are all put together. And there is the entire wave all put together. So something to note is all of the instructions are now character specific. In the past, it was just one generic instruction sheet, but now they're character specific. So you'll want to hang on to these instructions. And then up in the corner, you get a little bit about them, their name. They have a slogan, alternate mode, and primary function, which is pretty cool. Also, I pulled the rare Optimus, so we're not going to be looking at the normal Optimus for this review. I will do a comparison between the rare Optimus and the normal Optimus at some point in the future once my normal Optimus arrives. But for this review, we're going to be looking at that Optimus. This wave is broken up into G1, IDW, and Shattered Glass. So we'll go ahead and look at the G1 figures first, starting with Wheeljack, a full, proper G1 Wheeljack, mostly. I want to get my main big complaint out of the way with this dude right off the bat, and that is I don't think his colors are correct.
That's a shock, all right.
I think that this light gray is too light. They really should have gone a darker gray. It just makes him look strange. It's not quite there, which is disappointing to me because everybody was so excited for G1 Wheeljack. My other complaint is that his head gets almost zero articulation up and down. The side to side is there, but the up and down is almost non-existent. The head is one of the most complex heads that we've seen on a Galaxy version build. Is 5 pieces, which is pretty cool. The chest is done really well. Tons of great mold detail, color separation, tons of great print. The shoulders have some nice mold work. The head has nice mold work. Lower legs have some great print. And he even has print around the back, which is absolutely fantastic. The little wing solar panel bits on his back look great. Plenty of detail there. He's got his weird little shoulder cannon, which can be articulated a little bit. And overall, I think he looks pretty good. I really take issue with the colors for the gray because it just doesn't look quite right. And also the head articulation bothers me because the Transformers 1 Wheeljack had great head articulation. He could look up and down and all over the place. But this guy doesn't have that, which, I don't know, I feel like they could have managed to pull it off. But if you are a fan of G1 Wheeljack, this figure will scratch that itch.
It sure is nice when one of my inventions actually works.
But again, the coloring is just a little bit off. I do really appreciate the print work that they've done for the whole thing. Blokees is getting better and better with these prints, and I feel like the mold detail is getting sharper and sharper too. And speaking of zero head articulation, we have Sunstreaker. And my main complaint with this guy is the same. He has barely any up and down movement to the head, which For how high up his head is on the neck, I feel like that's even worse than Wheeljack. Maybe that's just me being really nitpicky, but I don't like that. The shoulders are color separated, which I thought was awesome. They're two different pieces. That's great. Chest is printed up really, really well. He's got a really cool backpack bit with some really nice detailing, as well as some silvery printed, I guess those are like his exhausts, which is, I don't know, that looks just really good. Anytime there's a shiny piece on a Blokees, it's always fantastic. The lower legs have print. Interestingly enough, these look similar to the Transformers 1 lower leg pieces, but I think that they're a brand new mold. This guy and all of the figures in this wave also sport the pre-assembled joints, so no more putting the joints together. And then obviously you can put this guy alongside Sideswipe because obviously they need to go together. His hands are normal hands, but I found that they have a hard time holding things. Maybe it's just mine, but it's a bit loose. I don't know why. Sometimes they're just randomly loose, and this guy happens to have the randomly loose hands. That's not a huge issue. You can just take a tiny bit of super glue and line the hole with it, let it dry. It'll work just fine. Other than that, he's pretty good. Again, I just wish he could look up and down better. He just really, really cannot. This wave brings us another member of the Dinobots. This time, it's Swoop. And this guy looks really fantastic. There's so much going on here. Tons of print work, tons of really nice, sharp, molded details. His wings look fantastic. They have 2 points of articulation, one kind of in the middle, and then one where it attaches to the back. The one in the middle is a little on the loose side, but it's not floppy, so it's not too bad. Nice detail work around the back. And then he's got actually some decent articulation for the head. He can look up and down and side to side. He's got color separated eyes, which is great. All of the figures in this wave have color separated eyes. No more printed eyes, which is fantastic. I've said that before. I just love it when they do that. His chest actually has the piece for his bird mode, or pterodactyl mode. I know it's a pterodactyl. I think this is hilarious because you can kind of hinge it up and his face starts to form. That's great. Overall, he just looks really, really good. I don't know. I'm happy with him. I think that these wings really make him stand out in a lineup of not only the other Dinobots, but just other Blokees in general. He's got such a big wingspan, and he's got such a different color scheme, or I guess color balancing, that he'll stand out on your shelf for sure. So every wave that is included a Dinobot, you get both forms, so bot and dino mode. And so here is Swoop, and he's got a ton of unique pieces. The wings are the same. The head has part of the other head. Is that the same piece? Let's look. It's not. So the head has all unique parts, and you get the jaw opening, which is great. You can move it up and down and side to side. Color separated eyes again. Nice print work for the chest, nice color separation for the chest. You've got the little feet down at the bottom. These can articulate. And then, of course, the wings being the same can also articulate. You can see plenty of detail around the back. There's a peg hole. We'll get to that peg hole later. As a whole, he looks really good. You can get him into flying poses really nicely. He's not my favorite of the Dinobots in Dino mode. I think that Snarl is still my favorite just because of how stubby he is. But I do think that Blokees has translated this form into the chipified Blokees style very, very nicely. This is going to make all you Seekers fans happy. Dirge has joined the lineup, and I have to say I'm not a fan of the pointy head Seekers. I don't know, that's just not my jam. Also, his head is freakishly hard to pose. You get barely any up and down, and he was so tight that I had to oil the joint a little bit, and even still, it's very hard to get a grip on that little bullet-shaped head. Overall, though, he looks fantastic. Plenty of paintwork, new pieces. That's an entirely new chest unit. It's not the same as the other Seekers. These guns are longer. We have these wing pieces that attach to these new lower legs. These are in a nice bronze color. These lower ones on the torso can kind of pose a little bit. The print work is overall fantastic. There's not as much as on some of the other figures, but we get print on the little wings and on the chest and on the knees. That's really great. The color is interesting. I can't quite tell if it's blue plastic or blue plastic that has some sort of a spray, because I was looking on the inside of the parts and it seemed lighter on the inside. So I don't know how they did that, but it's pretty cool. I looked at pictures of G1 Dirge and he always seemed to be lighter. There's a couple toys that seem to have this color scheme. So I think they based it off of one of the toys and not of the cartoon appearance. But yeah, for those of you who like the Seekers, this is a big win. Again, that head, I'm not a fan of. The rest of it, though, looks great, especially that torso. Rounding out the G1 figures for this wave is Kickback, the first Insecticon in Blokees form. Now, initially, I wasn't super excited for this guy. I don't know much about the Insecticons, and I always thought their designs looked a little strange until I got him in hand, and now he's one of my favorite characters from this wave for a couple reasons. First of all, he's just kind of funny. I mean, he's literally a bug, but a robot, and he just is done really well. There's plenty of color separation. Print on the chest is really nice. Print on the lower legs. He is built on one of the Transformers 1 cores, so the waist unit and the torso underneath the armor is different. These lower legs are thinner than usual, which is interesting. He uses the Transformers 1 feet. He comes with these really nice wings that can be articulated a little bit back and forth. The shoulders look great with those little propellers in them. He uses the Transformers 1 forearms because you can see there's the peg hole on the bottom. The original forearms had it on the side. And then his head can move really well, which I was already a little bit frustrated by the lack of articulation for the other figures, so this was a nice breath of fresh air. And then also, the more I looked at him, the more I was like, you know, he looks like a Halo 3 Marine. Tell me that does not look like a Halo 3 Marine. If you remove these little antennas, like the shaping of the chest is somewhat similar, the head is somewhat similar. I don't know, I now just see a Halo 3 Marine when I look at this guy, and I really want to get an extra one to paint in UNSC colors. So I don't know, that's just kind of fantastic. And then other articulation is just great. These shoulders are brilliant. You get all the articulation from it. And the lower legs doesn't allow for a ton of forward, but the side to side is just insane. It was a real standout, just how well those move. So I'm really happy with this guy posing-wise. I'm really happy with him looks-wise. I think Blokees knocked it out of the park. It's a really nice, modernized version of the really simplified G1 design. I don't know, if you like the Insecticons, this is a win for you. If you don't, give this guy a second look because he really convinced me that the Insecticons are kind of cool. We get one single Shattered Glass figure in this lineup, and so far this is only the second Shattered Glass figure Blokees has made in Galaxy version form. There's Optimus from Wave 2. There's also a Sideswipe in Galaxy Defender, but he's tiny. This time we get Ratchet, and I have to say I like this Ratchet better than the standard Ratchet. He's way more interesting to me. The normal G1 Ratchet, I don't know, it's not my cup of tea, but this is very interesting. That kind of ocean green is really nice, and then these shoulders are great. That print, and that is print, or I guess you can call it paint, it's really sharp for the most part. The mold work is really good. It's not the same on both sides. I was impressed with that. So you get some detail on the shoulders on the front, and then there's a little bit more detail on the back. Torso is all the same, I believe, and then not really any print around the back. But then his head, he's so cocky looking. He's just got such a dirty little smirk. And then he's got color separated eyes, which is fantastic. The print work on the chest is flatlining, which I guess that's for his patience. I don't know if his little heartbeat monitor or whatever was supposed to be his heartbeat or if it's his patience. But either way, it's flatlining. Print for the waist unit, print for the lower legs. I really like him. I mean, Evil Ratchet is an interesting concept, and he just looks really cool. I'm hoping that the next wave that they do, they'll include some of the good guys for Shattered Glass. So I really want to see Soundwave, maybe Megatron, so that we can have, you know, some battles between the evil Autobots and good Decepticons. But for now, having this guy alongside Optimus is really great. And I just can't get over how that smirk, the smirk that he's got on his face is just so infuriating. And now we move on to the IDW stuff. Now, Blokees has done one other IDW figure before this wave, and that was Tarn in Wave 4. And now we have Autobot Megatron. And I have to say, he looks so good. There is the Flame Toys model kit. I've seen that. I actually almost bought it at one point, but they're just so pricey. And I looked it up, and there's a handful of other toy forms of this particular instance of Megatron, but they're all ridiculously expensive. So it's really nice to see a more affordable version. Blokees has gone all out. There's print on the chest. Looks fantastic. We got the Autobot symbol. There's little like swirls on there. There's also some very low contrast gray printed on, which just adds a little bit of extra depth. The lower legs have a ton of print. Those are new pieces as well. The forearms are very interesting because they are new pieces and they are not symmetrical. So each one is different. First, you get over 90 degrees for the bend, which is fantastic. And then this side with the cannon has a slot on the forearm for the cannon. The cannon itself looks pretty good. Now, typically, Blokees will have symmetrical forearms. They'll be the same on both sides. There will be a peg hole, and you just peg it in. This is different, and I kind of like it, but I also kind of don't. I think it looks better than a simple peg, but it is fairly easy to just make it fly off because there's nothing to like snap it in place. It just kind of fits in via friction. So maybe a tiny dab of glue would fit that in place nicely. Shoulders look really good. I actually initially put them on backwards because there's print for like treads on the back. And I thought, oh, obviously the print goes forward. Nope, that goes on the back, which is fantastic. I love that touch. Just makes his whole detail work on the back extra good. And then we get some molded detail there. Sides of the shoulders look great. And then the head looks fantastic. The molding is great, color separated eyes, and then there's a tiny bit of print on the chin and under the eyes. The under the eye print in particular really makes this guy stand out because it really makes him look kind of tired, which suits that version of Megatron. Now, if you compare him to one of the Wave 1 figures, you can see he is almost a head taller, which I really appreciate. Blokees does not shy away from height differences, even though they have a fairly standardized system. So this dude is definitely one of my favorites, if not my singular one favorite from this whole wave. And finally, we come to Optimus Prime. Or more specifically, Orion Pax, because I believe this is still Orion Pax. This is his Stormbringer look, and it is so cool. Now, this is obviously very different from the standard one. The standard one has the red and gray and blue that you're familiar with Optimus. This one is the special variant, which means he's all shiny, which is Blokees' kind of classic way of making a rare figure just look so much better. However, he's in blue. That's a little weird. I know a lot of people were confused about it. This is for a specific scene when he gets Trailblazer to cover him in a force field shield thing. Very scene specific. I wasn't really on board with it when I first heard that it was very scene specific because I don't love hyper scene specific figures. However, getting it in hand, it just looks so sick. So it's shiny blue, but it has this like purpley tint to it. It's like iridescent. There's tons of color separation as well. So underneath, and you can see those little slots there, that's color separated. His eyes are color separated. The vent for the forehead is color separated. And then his little arm cannons have a beautiful heat gradient on there. That is so, so good. The normal figure does not have that. Even when I wasn't on board with this particular color, that made me interested in the figure. And not only is there a heat gradient, but there's print there. And then his guns on his back are done in clear, and those also have iridescence. There's print for the spine. There's some nice silver on the side of the legs. There's print for the upper legs, waist unit, print for the lower legs. He just looks brilliant. And the head mold for this Prime is great as well. It's very finely made, way more fine than the initial like Wave 1 Optimus. I will say my one complaint is that there's constant separation on the backside because of the way that it's built. It's just kind of frustrating. And there we go, I just launched it off. You can squeeze it back together, but there's always going to be somewhat of a gap. And then when you plug it back on and start posing it, it's just going to go back to being separated. So that's just kind of frustrating to me. Other than that, though, I think this guy looks so sick. As a rare figure, as a rare variant, I think this was a pretty good choice. Now, would a normal shiny red Optimus have been cool? Yes. But this is just different and a standout among all the other Optimus Primes, and I think that's good. You know, too many times of doing, Optimus and shiny red Optimus, it gets old. So I can appreciate what Blokees was going for here. And like I said, getting him in hand, posing him around, he just looks so sick. Now we need to talk accessories. Let me get a couple little ones out of the way. You get extra ones of these. Some of the figures will have an extra one. It's kind of nice. Dirge comes with extra one of these double joints. You get these guns with Sunstreaker and Wheeljack. These are the ones that kind of are loose in the hand. I don't know if that's the gun's fault or the hand's fault. In Sunstreaker's case, it's definitely more of the hand's fault, but it's kind of nice pieces. They work. I think they're a little goofy. They're not my favorite of the Blokees guns. We get hands. So every figure comes with a pair of open hands and a pair of fists. These are specifically for Optimus, but there's a bunch of different colored ones throughout, so you're not lacking for hands. This is Shattered Glass Ratchet's gun, which is very interesting, very intriguing. I think this is pretty cool. It looks, I don't know, it looks like a old-fashioned like space ray gun. Maybe that's what they were going for. I think it's kind of neat. But you know what I think is cooler? Kickback's gun. This is straight up a freaking Tommy gun. It's a literal Transformers Tommy gun. Look at that drum mag and everything. This is by far the coolest of the guns that I've seen on like standard Transformers. I like it. I like it a lot. And then Swoop gets a pair of these guns that look very similar to like Soundwave's guns. The bird mode, and yes, I'm going to keep calling it bird mode. Bird mode has those attached to the wings, but he can just hold these. With Kickback, you also get, I don't know this guy's name. Somebody can tell me in the comments, but you get a beetle. And somebody in the Blokees Discord made a meme with it that I find absolutely hilarious for some reason. I don't know why. It's literally just him throwing the bug, but I think it's very funny. And because of that, I think this was a great addition. There are some peg connector looking things back here. Everybody keeps saying combiner. I don't know what those are for. I don't know. You can open up the little prongs on the front and close that. You get a whole stack of cards. So Blokees has shifted from doing little circles to actual tiny cards, which I think is great. I think this looks and also just works better than those little circles. So I'm all for this. I am looking forward to seeing the next couple waves, and getting these in them. I think these are very nice and collectible. Optimus comes with a clear variant of his gun, which I think is a little strange, but it is that really cool iridescence. So I guess, I don't know, that's kind of cool. And then you get stands for all of the figures, obviously. But Swoop comes with a flight stand. Blokees has had this connection point on the stands since day one. And I've been waiting for them to do a flight stand, and they finally did it. So it just literally pegs in there, and then it's got a ball joint up here that you can attach Swoop to and get him posed flying, which I think is super, super cool. You also get a effect piece for Swoop blasting out of his little bird mouth. And then my favorite accessories from the entire wave. Blokees has made brand new shooting effects. And holy crap, these are so dynamic. These are so dynamic. You can put them together, so they come in two pieces. They just fit into the gun end. So you can just peg that in there. This is Megatron's, like that. And look, he's just, it's so cool. Now, what I thought was really, really cool though, you can take one of the other guns, and there is this slot here. And if you take this, put it so that it fits in there, boom. Now the little guns can also have the firing effect. That is so good. That adds so much extra value to both Optimus and Megatron, in my opinion, and I really want to see a whole range of these blast effects. Heck, with how good these effects are, I would like to see Blokees just start including more effects. This is brilliant. Well, there you have it. That is Galaxy version 06. The real standouts for me are the IDW figures. I was in love with those designs as soon as I saw the Blokees versions, and they did not disappoint. The mold work, the posing, all of it is awesome. I know I got the rare Optimus, but this goes for the normal one as well because they share the same parts. A very surprising standout, though, was Kickback. Not only was he a really intricate build, very different and very fun to put together, but he looks fantastic when put together. He's great in terms of posing, and he comes with some awesome accessories. I mean, the little Tommy gun, perfect. Ratchet, also amazing. Looks really good. I have no complaints. Swoop is great. Really nice to have another Dinobot. Dirge, nice to get another Seeker. It's nice to get the conehead mold. I personally am not a huge fan of it, but Blokees did it very, very well. I think the duds for me in this wave were Wheeljack and Sunstreaker. Sunstreaker, there's nothing really wrong with him. He's just not my cup of tea. I know there's a lot of people that do like him, and he's great to get in the lineup. I do wish for better head articulation. Wheeljack, though, he's kind of the wrong colors, and his head doesn't barely move at all. That's disappointing to me. I really would have wished for a bit better in that regard. The rest of him is fantastic, though, and I'm really just impressed continually of how huge leaps we get in terms of quality and intricate building with each wave. So wave 1, very simple. They all almost use the same parts. And now we're at wave 6, and they're really feeling like proper tiny model kits with color separation, new parts. It's just really, really good. I am continually impressed. So now, what I want to know is, what do you think? Are you going to be picking up this wave? Are you going to be getting a full case? Are you just going to be getting a few of the figures? Which figures are your favorites? Which figures do you think are kind of meh? I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.